Hello folks, this is Steve AB4 nothing in this episode's a promotion nor is it a recommendation. This is going to be kind of like a little bit of reminiscing. Now, I'm old. I'm not going to say how old, but I'm old. I was looking at slashdot.org, News for Nerds, and there's our article here, abstract. Bruce Schneier reminds LLM engineers, AI engineers, about the risks of prompt injection. What's a prompt injection? Prompting is that you're interacting with the model, you're typing in a question or a sentence or whatever. It's called a prompt, and then the AI, whatever it is, responds. But an injection is you've typed in a prompt that does more than just ask a question. It triggers a faulty design in the logic of the model, and it does something that violates its own rules. Bruce Schneier, he knows I can pronounce the name. I know him from his stuff from almost as old as I am. Reminds LLM engineers about the risk of prompt injection vulnerabilities. So I went to the article. Now, I'm going to point out something. This guy's retired, right? But he's still making money. How do you know that? Look right here. This is his blog page. And you can subscribe to any one of those things, online. I'm a public interest technologist working at the intersection of security, technology, and people. I've been writing about security issues on my blog since 2004, and my monthly newsletter since 1998. But you see, you can do a search right here. And it'll search his blog site How far back did it say he goes? 20 years worth of writing every couple of days? He's harnessed one of the search engines. DuckDuckGo. I'm not promoting anything. When I worked for that, see, my mind wanders all over. When I worked for that internationally known, internationally operating IT company, and I was doing customer support on a headline product, so you're part of a large team and people are doing the same job as you. Customers have problems, they have questions, whatever. And it was at the beginning of the internet. That's what the product was about. And so instead of customers calling you on the phone, they were doing it by way of the internet and then the web. And I pointed out to my management chain that the internationally known internationally operating company had so many technical publications that originally were print publications, but they were all scanned in, and there's tens of thousands of them. And it was difficult even for us to find the documentation to help answer the questions the customers had. Well, they had thought of that, and they had their own internal search engine. But it was crap. And I made the suggestion that they go to Google and sign a contract with them and have them index all of the web pages and all the documentation. And you know what? They did it. And it turned the situation around. And that's what Bruce is doing here. Bruce has written about, I've been reading his stuff from near the beginning when he started to publish online. I know who he is. He looked much younger then. Now, his article is LLM's Data Control Path Insecurity, which means it can be easily hacked. So let's look at what he says. Back in the 1960s, that's going to be something I'm going to talk about. If you played a 2600 hertz musical tone into an AT&T payphone, you could make calls without paying. Did you get that? A phone hacker, way back then, a phone hacker named John Draper noticed that the plastic whistle that came free in a box of Captain Crunch cereal worked to make the right sound. So he's saying that at a certain point, the telephones modernized and became semi-electronic. Not electrical, but electronic. Like transistor radios were different than vacuum tube radios. That kind of transition around that time. That became his hacker name, and everybody who knew the trick made free pay phone calls. So hacking's been around for a long time. There were all sorts of related hacks, such as faking the tones that signal, now listen to this, such as faking the tones that signaled coins dropping into a payphone and faking tones used by repair equipment. But the general AT&T could sometimes change the signaling tones, make them more complicated, or try to make them secret. Now, here's his main point about the rest of the article, which we're not going to discuss. It goes back to the AI people. But the general class of exploit was impossible to fix, means stop, prevent, because the problem was general. Data and control used the same channel. They use the connections between the phone and the central switching, is what he's saying. That is, the commands that told the phone switch, that's the central switching office, what to do were sent along the same path as the voices. So in a sense, the signaling was of the same nature as the voice communication, which goes back to why blowing a whistle, making a pure tone of a certain frequency, the other end of the line is listening for that. They're not picking it out of your voice, and they use it to do some function. In the old days, when you dialed a phone, you could hear click, 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 click as the relays did this. But then you got to the phones where you pressed a button, and you could hear the tones being sent over, and you could hear them. The tones were the numbers. You pressed the button. There was no dial. But they're going on the same channel, the wires, as your voice. And they're the same thing as your voice. Sounds. So he's saying that means a person standing there with a mouthpiece on the phone could imitate the signals. And that's what the susceptibility was. And that's what's going to be true about prompt injections that screw these robot AIs and make them do stupid or bad things. Now, when I read this, I thought about the hacking the stage before that. What do I mean? So when I was in college, when I came to North Carolina, and I worked at North Carolina State University, I know that at that time, the student dormitories on campus each had a telephone in every room. But when I first went to college and lived in a dormitory, there was one pay phone on the main floor. See, I'm drawing a contrast. And the pay phone looked something like this one. Here's how you dialed it. Here's the money slots, the coin slots. And here's the thing I'm going to talk about. Now, did you notice what it said there? Local call. Remove handset. You see the handset there? Deposit 1 10-cent coin or 2 5-cent coins. Listen for dial tone. Dial number desired. So you can make a local call for 10 cents. But it wasn't unlimited. You could be interrupted by an operator or an automated voice that would tell you had to put more money in to continue. But look at the long distance. So you're in a dormitory, there's one pay phone, a dormitory full of rascals. Remove handset. Deposit 1 10-cent coin or 2 5-cent coins. Dial the number 0. Bring up a live operator. When operator answers, place your call. That means you have to talk to the operator about what number you're going to call. The coin originally deposited will be returned. Correct. But we're going to make a long distance call. Now there were two kinds of long distance calls. Collect or I pay for it now. If it was collect, I've already got my dime back. The operator takes the number, actually makes the connection, the phone wherever it is, your mom's home, your parents. Somebody picks up and the operator says, so-and-so is calling collect, will you accept the charge, reverse charge? And if the person said no, the operator hangs up on you. Because you're making a collect call. If they say yes, then the operator goes away and you talk to your mom for however long, and it's on your parents' phone bill. I'm saying this for young squirts who don't know what I'm talking about. You old people, just go to sleep. But in the dormitory, we weren't going to call collect. And there were people who figured out how to do it for free. No Captain Crunch whistle. But it's essentially the same thing as Bruce Schneier saying, but it's another angle. And Bruce Schneier says in that article, there's an infinite number of ways to crap out those AI models, just as there's an infinite number of ways to get into computers and blah, blah, blah. So how did we do it? I didn't do it. I didn't figure it out. But let me tell you. Okay. You put the dime in, and then you dial the number. And then the operator is going to tell you how much you have to put more. You've got your dime back. Now she might say something like, it's going to be $1.25 for the first 3 minutes. You're interacting with an operator. It's a long distance call. You're going to pay for it. There's no set single price. So the operator says $1.25. You've dialed the number. She's holding it from going through. She tells you how much it is because something there tells her what to say. See, there's no LED on the front of the phone to tell you. So then you put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quarters. They fall down to approximately, see, it just won't stay there. Approximately this position on the phone. You see that upper lock? And in there, there's a little paddle. The coins fall on it. All right? Now, it now is ringing the phone at the other end, and it keeps ringing. Nobody's home. So the operator sends a signal to the payphone, and the thing moves to this way and drops it into the return. You see the return there? Drops it into the return, you open that and you get your money. Because the phone didn't go through. But, conversely, if somebody answers, and it doesn't matter who it is, as soon as they pick up, the coins drop into the box. Now, what's this got to do with hacking? What's this got to do with Bruce Schneier? What's this got to do with the concept that all this stuff is working over the same channels, the same set of wires? There's no independent control. Today, they would be safer on the money because you'd have to put a credit card and it's done electronically and it's not the same circuit. It's done through another computer circuit. But in this day, it was five quarters in there. You're in the dormitory and you don't want to pay for the call, but you want to make the call. So on this website, they've got a bunch of pictures. And you can see there's something right up here. See, there's the flip thing. Why do they have that on there? Originally, telephones didn't have that. I'll tell you in a minute why that's there. Yeah, I know the reason. See if you can guess it before we get there. So the thing I said about holding the money is perched right up here, and the money's either going to go back to you, the return slot. We're talking about actually making the long distance call, the 5 quarters, or it's going to fall into the pay box where you can't get it back. And we were getting our money back. This is a little platform in there. And just below it is our operating, it is this. Do you see where the coins fall through in the cup right here? Do you see they go right down in here and we're sitting on top of the box or the return chute? You see the return chute's right here and the box with the money is here on the right, or vice versa. And the coins have come down and fallen through this from you putting them in at the top of the phone. And look at this big relay. That's how that relay either switches the money back to the return slot or into the pay box. Why am I going down this path? That's how the operator, who knows how many miles away, you don't know where the long distance operator was. She might have been in the same city. She might have been 1,000 miles away. Is able to send a signal back to the phone telling it what to do in terms of the money. And there's the relay. So how did we get around paying? Have you figured it out yet? Now, when I say we, I didn't do it. Somebody in the dormitory did it. And literally every month or whenever it was that the telephone service guy came to empty out the cash box and check out the phone, he had to repair it again. And then they got tired of it and they took the phone out. What did they get tired of? No money in the cash box. But people had made all kinds of long distance calls in that dormitory. See this thing you can pull down? You know why they got them on the phone? Because somebody took a coat hanger and shaped it and went up in there and ruined, in the first case, ruined the spring that was tensioning the little platform. Think of the thing where it's a game show and you're standing on the platform. Are they going to drop you into the big swimming pool or are you going to win? And there's something that will release it. But it's held by, it's got a tension spring on it. Somebody went up in there and permanently made it go over to the return slot. So what you had to do when you were dropping your coins in, you had to stuff a sock in that hole so the operator couldn't hear through the phone that your coins had come back through the return slot. Because if you didn't do that, they would clang in the metal. So you would put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ching, ching, ching. It would just fall right back into the return slot. But like Bruce Schneier said in his article, on the phones, everything was on the same circuit. The same wires that were carrying the voice messages were also carrying the impulses to control the relay. And so you're standing there in a phone booth, so there's an echo, and if the phone is making any funny noises, the operator might hear it and say, "What's going on?" Especially once that phone number gets a reputation. Yeah, really. So the person had fixed it. The first stage actually was the guy jiggered it enough that when you put a long distance amount in there, when it got heavy enough, it flipped it and returned it to you. But then they put new springs on there and he went in and whoever it was, I don't know, and he just whipped the spring off so it would just fall right through. And after that, they simply disconnected the phone in the dormitory. Last resort. Now this long, whether you realize it, this long story, I'll bet you if we were talking to Bruce Schneier, he'd just be nodding his head yes. It's exactly the same thing, only one generation earlier than the telephone example that he gave. And why did he give this example instead of mine? Because most of you young squirts would have no idea what we're talking about, but if you talk about tones and stuff like that, at least you kind of have an idea about it. You think Bruce is as old as I am? Let's see if it'll tell us how old he is. There's got to be a Wikipedia. He's a young squirt. He's 61. He's only 61. That's why he used that telephone example. He was never in a dormitory with the older phones like I was. That's why he didn't use the other one. But he'd understand it if I told it to him. Steve A. before you. Just having fun and reminiscing a little bit, but interpreting it. The more things change, the more they remain the same. Read his article. The whole thing really has one message. You all think you're so damn smart, but the truth is you're going to be up against the same thing people were up against before you were born. Nothing has really changed. The more things change, the more they stay the same. And with that, this is Steve A. before you, and thank you, Bruce, for this timely article, saying see you in 73.